Welcome to TCG and Me's Board State, where we go wide on card game news. Today, Magic the Gathering's Alta Fox saga has come to an end. It doesn't look like Wizards of the Coast is going to be spun off into its own company, for better or for worse. It seems like that report wasn't too convincing to that end, but I do think that it has some impact. It seems that maybe that report was a catalyst for starting the pro tournament scene back up in Magic. I think I've mentioned this before, but Magic has been having a pro tour from 1986 to 2018. Shut it down. And now, we see, in 2022, it's starting back up. Now, we also have new Capenna? Capoeira? The new set, slated to come out. Numbers are looking like it could be a repeat of Neon Dynasty, which would be a big success. Very exciting stuff. But we'll have to wait and see. You can check out the video from Final Trade that I'll link below to see more of the numbers that kind of back that up. But I think it's something to watch. I mean, it's Magic. Everyone's watching it. I don't need to say that. But I think you'll like it. Now moving on to MetaZoo. Big news. MetaZoo has cut off LGSs. Well, okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration. They've put in new restrictions in order to send product to LGS. It's not too much of an update, but they do require that you actually host events. Now this means that a lot of the online retailers that are kind of just in it to get cheap product and flip it are gonna be left in the lurch. But it rewards those who actually play the game, who foster a community. I think it was really interesting on May the Zoo Be With You, a podcast on TCGs. Recently, one of the hosts, George, said that he views the role of these stores, these retailers, they don't own the product. They're a middleman between the distributor and the customer. I think I agree. I don't think the value is in being able to flip the product for a higher price. I think the value is in creating a community in which people can play games. So I really like this, and I kind of wonder why more companies haven't come up with something like this before, especially a lot of the newer ones, especially like Flesh and Blood. Take notes. This is impressive stuff. They've also had a partnership with eBay that's slated for later this month, which will be on top of their partnerships with Walmart and Target eventually. There's also word on the grapevine that there's possibly a Fortnite collaboration coming through. Now, in the middle of all these card games, I want to point out that the Tolarian Community College Kickstarter, say that 3 times fast, is wrapping up. They're selling, if you didn't know, a deck box, handcrafted, well, I mean, he didn't make them, but hand-designed. Well, he didn't design them, but the professor from Tolarian Community College had a lot of say into the design of this thing that is crafted by GameGenic. It's a lot of good names going in there, and it looks to be something that's pretty impressive. So if you haven't checked it out already, I would recommend going and taking a look. I think you'd be pleasantly surprised, no matter what card games you're into. You gotta store those cards somewhere. I personally have slated to pick up quite a few of them. I'll leave a link for that below as well. In more card game news, Flesh and Blood recently put out print run numbers for Monarch First Edition. Now they pinned the number at 125,000 boxes of Monarch. To give kind of some comparison, MetaZoo boxes are now at, and I believe will remain at, 100,000. A lot of people were worrying that it would be much, much higher. It seems that the market hasn't really changed. So I think this is pretty on target for what a lot of people were thinking. Nothing to move that needle too much. But what I think is really interesting, print run numbers nice, but I think that this may be indicative for what we might see for Tales of Aria. We saw Welcome to Wraith and Arcane Rising have very similar numbers. I think the exact same numbers of print run. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the same thing between Monarch and Tales of Aria. Keep in mind that these numbers have to be solidified long ahead of the product actually going out and seeing the impact of it. So if we have 125,000 boxes of Tales of Aria and Monarch, then why is Tales of Aria underperforming so much more than Monarch is? I have a lot of faith in the Tales of Aria product. I think it's a really good set. I think it's actually better than Monarch, and a lot of people love Monarch. So I would be very surprised to see things go down more. I feel like a lot of the prices that came about in Tales of Aria came about because people were feeling the fatigue of Monarch. Anyway, I think it's something that's enlightening to see the ramifications of what that means for this block of sets going forward from Monarch to Everfest. We're also still seeing a lot of market softness just all around. I think a lot of people are kind of uncertain about what the state of the game is until we see the promised Fab 2.0, quote unquote. We heard James White talk about that and say that information was coming out soon, but that was also months ago, and he said that more information would be due within a month. So I don't know what's going to be happening with that, but when it comes out, it'll make waves. Sorcery Contested Realms Kickstarter just finished up with about $5 million across 6,500 backers. That's a lot of money, folks. I don't think you can kind of start losing track of what numbers mean when they get that high. To put it into maybe a framework that might make more sense, if you average that out, that's about $900 a backer average. I don't know how much money you spent on it, but I didn't spend $900. And I know that given some of those higher tier lists, there are backers in there that spent a lot more than $900. Now, regardless, that amount of money means that if all that money was spent on boxes, we're probably going to be seeing about a print run of about 26,000, which again, go back to the numbers we had before. Flesh and Blood had 125,000. So 26,000 is actually a lot lower than I thought it was going to be, given that much money being thrown around. But still don't know that it's anything that's worth investing in. Maybe I'll eat my words when it comes out. Don't get FOMO over any of this, guys. Don't fear missing out any of this. Yeah, it's just card games, man. It's just card games. Have fun. Go outside. Touch grass.